Errol Spence Terence Crawford in direct negotiation, says Mike Coppinger. Fact versus fiction. What's good, everybody? It's your boy, Cardinal Red Sports. Let's talk about it. Alright, so Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Bud Crawford are apparently negotiating a super fight, and they're not using their lawyers, their promoters, their managers. They are in direct contact over the phone, and according to Mike Coppinger, have already come to some pretty good terms as far as making the fight. I just want to get my thoughts on what's going on, what's true, what's false, what's fact, what's fiction, and is this fight actually going to happen? I had a few people in the comment section ask me, do I think the fight is actually going to happen? I actually believe it's going to happen. I think we most likely will get it the end of 2023, beginning of 2024. It's going down. It's going to happen. It's going to happen soon. It has to happen. Alright, so according to Mike Coppinger of ESPN, he's saying that both guys have been in direct phone conversations with each other. Both fighters have agreed to a purse split, which is very interesting because if you remember back when they were negotiating during the summer of 2022, everything had pretty much already been agreed to. I think they had already come to terms to everything within the contract. And what was being said that was holding up the fight was transparency about background monies, basically. Where is all the background money going? This is what they were saying that Terence Crawford was trying to find out. Where is all of the, t-shirt money and, concession money, all this extra money that's going to be brought in by this fight? Where's all that going? Because he was not going to get a guarantee, and he was wondering if I'm not getting a guarantee, where's every dollar of this fight going to be spent and made, and who's recouping all this money, and why is some of it not coming back to me? So if it was a money issue that was holding the fight up in the first place, and these two guys are in direct contact, and they've come to terms about all the money, you would have to think that this fight could happen sooner than later, that both of these guys are pretty much agreed to the hardest parts of making the fight. And if that's true, according to Mike Coppinger, that part is true, that they've already agreed, which I would have to say has to be true because they had already hashed that out back in the summertime anyway. Me personally, I don't think that it was some background contract wording that was holding up the fight. Me personally, I think it was a rematch clause that was actually holding up the fight, because if you remember, Errol Spence is trying to leave the division. He wants this fight, and then he wants to get out of the division because of the weight issue he's having of making the 147 weight limit. So I'm guessing he doesn't want a rematch. Terence Crawford wants some type of guarantee of a rematch. And that's the real problem. So, if that's the real problem, if that's what's really holding up the fight is a rematch clause and not some background money, because once again, they've already agreed to all the money that quick. Like, how's that possible if Terence Crawford was having some issue with background money and Al Heyman? That can't be possible. So I would have to say that was not what was holding up the fight. It was actually some type of rematch clause holding up the fight, and then it was Terence Crawford wanting that rematch clause. Why would Errol Spence want a rematch clause if he's trying to leave the division? He don't even want to fight now at 147. He's trying to fight at 154 with Thurman because he can't make the weight. He doesn't want to make the weight. It's hard for him to make the weight. So anybody out there saying that it's Errol Spence and Team Spence holding things up, I can't agree with you for that simple reason. You have to think about this realistically. Errol Spence has told y'all several times, and us as fans several times, I'm having difficulty making this weight. This is the reason I want to leave the division. This is the reason I need the Crawford fight. This is the reason he wanted the Crawford fight to happen so quickly last summer, Let's get this done and over with, and then we all can move on with our lives, you know. And we could possibly have a rematch at 154 pounds, you know, and that might have been the issue too. Perhaps Errol Spence did offer him a rematch, but the rematch wasn't going to be at 147. It was going to be at 154. Now, think about that. Once again, how could it be Errol Spence trying to hold things up if he's having difficulty making weight? Why would he want to hold it up when he's having difficulty making weight? Now, Mike Coppinger, he had a few extra things to say when it came to the Thurman situation. And is this fight actually going to happen this year, or are we going to have to wait a little while longer? Basically, what he said is he doesn't believe it's going to happen quickly. He thinks that most likely Errol Spence is going to go ahead with the Keith Thurman fight. Terence Crawford is going to go ahead with the Alexis Rocha fight, and then they will more than likely try to hash something out for the end of the year, beginning of next year. And I would have to agree. I would have to say that Mike Coppinger is probably 100% right, because there's been so much time elapsed. I think if Terence Crawford would have went ahead with the fight when it was offered last summer instead of the David Evansian fight, you know, we wouldn't be having all these problems. Or if Errol Spence immediately after the David Evansian fight would have said, hey, I'm agreeing that everything that you want to agree with within the contract, let's just make the fight. But he didn't. He went with the Thurman fight, you know, and I can't blame him at the end of the day because of what Terence Crawford turned around and did to them. But at the same time, you're not helping yourself and you're not helping the situation by going straight into a Thurman fight when you could have, you know, taken your time, slowly dropped your weight, you know, made the fight for the summertime, slowly dropped your weight, and fought Terence Crawford in the summer at 147 instead of going into a Thurman fight, wasting a bunch of time, having to reset your body after the Thurman fight and all this. So it's dragging these things out further than they need to be drug out. And it's both guys. You know, you can't say it's one guy specifically. Now, Terence Crawford is causing the biggest problem, but because Terence Crawford caused a problem, now Errol Spence wants to cause another problem off of pride, you know, and this is what I don't like about what these fighters are doing. They're you know, causing bigger issues and making the fight take much, much longer than it definitely has to. Mike Coppinger says he doesn't believe it happens, you know, quickly or even in 2023. I'm still optimistic about the end of 2023, beginning of 2024. I think it's going to happen. I think they're going to get it done. Let's, as boxing fans, just hope they finally get it done, man, and they stop with the foolishness. Hopefully Errol Spence realizes that he doesn't need the Thurman fight and just go straight into the Terence Crawford fight. You know, you can slowly drop that weight. Let's make the fight for early summer, mid-summer. Slowly drop your weight. Both of you guys get in great shape and give the fans the greatest fight, you know, of this generation, of this boxing generation, and stop dragging this thing out, you know. Let me know what y'all think about that down in the comment section below. Hit that like button for me. Share. Subscribe. Holler at me on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. More than likely to get a response on YouTube, so holler at me over there. If you want to collab, hit my Gmail, flockofcards@gmail.com. And we are...
I'm too high for words, too fly for birds. Tell them other pigeons, get to rock, kick, you're not listening. Baby, stop tripping. They ain't on your level. What part of that are you missing? Look, I just wanna put the cuffs on you. Take you to the room, put the cuffs on you. I just wanna lick on you, touch on you. Keep talking that shit and I'ma bust on you. You know I got it like that though. Take her to the movies and go down in the back row. Shitting on them bitches, why you clown them like that for? She know she got it like that, so that's my baby.
Oh my. Make me feel so right. Come and stay the night.
the little things you do. Must I remind you that I respect you?